celebrate the memorial of the great patron of biblical scholars, Saint Jerome. Saint Jerome pored over the biblical texts and translated all the original texts in their original languages into Latin. Can you imagine the painstaking detail and the contemplative attention to detail that was required to do that? Tonight, we're asking St. Jerome to intercede for us that we ourselves can be biblical translators. The people of God that translates the biblical texts into the fabric of our daily lives, our vocations, and our ecclesial missions. On Tuesday, we celebrated the feast of the great doctor of the church, Saint Teresa of Lisieux, the little flower. The spiritual theologian, Father Bernard Brogue, once said that in comparing Karl Marx's theory of work to the theory of work of Saint Teresa of Lisieux, was that Saint Teresa's vision of daily work was far more radical than Karl Marx's, because it went to the very soul and heart of the human being. It did not stay on the surface and be involved in inaccuracies and distortions of truth that lead to evil. Saint Therese, we call on Saint Therese tonight to help us to recommit ourselves to those refined, hidden deeds of sacrifice, those refined, hidden seeds of penance, patience, mortification, those refined, hidden seeds of carrying the cross nobly and with magnanimity and humility. We know that St. Therese teaches us that the little way, the little unseen deeds of charity light the mission of mercy of our Holy Catholic Church. On Wednesday, we celebrated the feast of the Holy Guardian Angels. St. Pio was pretty devoted to guardian angels, wasn't he? He would send his guardian angel on expeditionary missions to the guardian angels of those he served. And the great St. John the 23rd, who once, at the end of a long day, said, realized it wasn't about him, but about the Lord. He said, Lord, it's your church, I'm going to bed. St. John the 23rd, with all his different global meetings, interceding between President Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev in the Cuban Missile Crisis, he sent a lot of guardian angels, his guardian angel out to talk to a lot of different guardian angels around the world on behalf of the mission of mercy of our church. And so this Feast of the Guardian Angels this week reminds us to be in solidarity with St. Pio and St. John the 23rd to rediscover in a new and powerful way those blessed messengers, the angels, and to have a great devotion to our own guardian angel. And of course, we come to this great day, the feast day of Saint Francis of Assisi. How many people have Saint Francis as their confirmation name? Take a count. Not bad. Fantastic. Isn't it beautiful that on this memorial of Saint Francis of Assisi, we can pray for our Holy Father, Pope Francis, who shares so much of Saint Francis' charism in terms of waking us up, shaking us by the shoulders to open our eyes to the Lazaruses in our midst. As a young man, the only thing deep about Francis of Assisi was his superficiality. Wine, women, song, surface living, the seeking of easy pleasure, superficial pleasure, and then that moment of conversion. That powerful moment where all the light pleasures of quest and with a laser beam focused on the unique Redeemer of the world, the way, the truth, and the life, the Alpha and the Omega, Jesus Christ. And so that whole experience of him the Holy Spirit leading him to that conversion. Saint Francis reminds us this evening of that lively intimacy with Jesus Christ, a real living intimacy with Jesus Christ that expresses itself amidst the crosses and our own particular dimension of stigmata about the ecstatic joy we're called to have as Catholic Christians, the logic of our sacramental life. Saint Francis of Assisi, as we know in San Damiano, had that experience which at first he interpreted literally. Rebuild my church. There it is, the chapel of San Damiano. Let me get to work. And isn't it beautiful how in that physical working, with St. Joseph's sense of being a visionary and a practical carpenter, St. Francis of Assisi repaired that chapel. And yet it led him to a mission in church history that lives to this day, and that's needed so desperately in this day, that you and I are called to be, in the most radically humble and magnanimous way, rebuilders of Christ's church, rebuilders of evangelization. Pope Francis of Laudato Si, pretty early in the document, his document on our care for the environment, his go-to person, of course, is Saint Francis of Assisi. I was at Holy Trinity High School today, and I was talking about Saint Francis of Assisi as an integral ecologist, someone who loves the environment, someone who gives praise and glory to Jesus Christ through the natural beauty of the earth. And you and I have our own very special little island, not a pretty big island actually. I get around it a lot. With an incredible uniqueness in terms of its natural beauty that you and I give glory and praise to God for this day. But I also reminded the students that in the last year, New York State has passed a horrific and horribly historical and tragic piece of legislation, the so-called Reproductive Health Act, that permits abortion until birth and even permits infanticide. I hope you have that shiver down your spine as I say those words that I say every time I say them. My point to the high school students was this: you cannot be a Catholic environmentalist. You cannot follow in the steps of Saint Francis of Assisi unless you are loving every human life on this earth, unless you are an agent, an advocate, and a defender of the sanctity of human life at every stage of life. You cannot separate environmental concern from the sanctity of human life, and you cannot separate environmental concern and the sanctity of human life from the natural law and the objective moral truth of God. We cannot separate, and I went further. I said we cannot separate the objective splendor of truth, that marriage is between one man and one woman, that involves a radical unity, a radical lifelong fidelity, with a call to holiness and mission. It all fits together. That's the beauty of being a Catholic. The lights go on as we see that our care for the environment, Francis expresses so beautifully, when we're at peace with the environment, there's a peace in our souls. how true that is in terms of the peace in our souls when we are instruments of the gospel of human life. Saint Francis says, non-educated veterinarian. Father Michael and I, we were on our way over, we were looking at some of, he wasn't, because he's here tonight, he wasn't able to preside over the blessing of the Saint Francis of Assisi blessing over the animals, and there were Malvern police horses on his parish lawn. There were canine police dogs on his front lawn. And you can imagine the pictures of children smiling with their favorite dog, their favorite cat, and their animals. You know, there is something about the intuition of animals about human beings, isn't there? Animals have a sense of human beings. I remember every animal my mother approached, they would just fall in love with her. They would just come to her. I can remember the old can openers? You press it, they were electric, and they'd do this noise. Well, our cat, as soon as she pressed that can opener, that cat was right there and nipping at her ankles in a way the cat knew he could do with her. There is something about animals intuiting evil, intuiting goodness, intuiting holiness. We all experience it with our pets. We see their reactions to people who come to the door. And the great story of Saint Francis of Assisi, the Italian town with the vicious dog who was attacking people, biting people out of starvation. And Saint Francis going out of the town to confront this dog, and the dog leaping at him, and then suddenly falling down and very lovingly nestling at Francis's feet. And Francis agreeing with the dog that the dog would be fed for the rest of his life in the town if he would reconcile the town. Unbelievable. Just a little plug for Bishop Barron's pivotal players on Saint Francis of Assisi. They're fantastic. I was reviewing them very early this morning, just soaking it all in. I can't recommend that series too much. And finally, Saint Francis of Assisi and Saint Pio together, they teach us how the cultivation of interior peace, the cultivation of peace within marriage, the cultivation of the bonds of peace within families is the building block, the foundation of the world peace that Saint Francis to this day is an agent of. It's no mistake that so many world sort of meetings and groupings devoted to world peace find their center in Assisi. People know make me a channel of your peace. That's the great charism of Saint Francis. So let's go to Saint Francis this evening with Padre Pio, Saint Pio. Let's ask, through the intercession of Saint Francis, ask the Holy Spirit to burn out the superficiality within us, to burn out our resistances to grace and holiness, which can be so deeply pinched and so deeply entrenched. Let's allow the Holy Spirit to burn out that control-freak desire for control other people, events, and open our hands wide to the cross of Christ. St. Francis boasts in the cross of Christ. That charism of the stigmata that he shared with Padre Pio was a living sign of his total unity and identification, full identification with the crucified Christ. Let's allow St. Francis to intercede for us so that we can integrate the objective moral law, the natural law, our commitment to the sanctity of human life, our beliefs about the splendor of truth of marriage and family, and our belief that it all connects beautifully with a wonderful reverence for the environment that we've been given. As your bishop, I want to give you a little preview tonight of a few things. Father Duffy and these young priests are incredible in terms of their balance, they're mature. Are they zealous? Are they creative? There's a new pastoral letter. I think some of the copies are right over there, and it's a little unusual one. It's about the 1969 Mets winning the World Series. Why would a Catholic bishop write about that? Why would your bishop write about it? Because that unbelievable experience of the Mets overturning all expectations, not expecting to do anything that year, and winning the World Series. It's a wonderful template for a new golden era of Catholic evangelization on Long Island, right in the heart of the crosses we carry as a church of the clergy sexual abuse crisis. The lessons of church history are that the deepest mustard seeds of Catholic evangelization, the deepest seeds of Catholic church reform and purification are planted in the darkest soils of church history. Do you believe with your bishop that we are in the middle, we are just about to enter, and we're already entering a new era of Catholic evangelization that is so bold and beautiful that we are going to serve in the most humble but magnanimous way to be an instrument of leadership for the entire country? That's what this pastoral letter is all about. And remember the words of Tug McGraw, you've got to believe. Do we believe what we say we believe every Sunday at the Creed? Do we really believe it? Do we believe that Jesus Christ is the unique Redeemer of the world for all peoples, times, and cultures? Do we believe that the Catholic Church, the Church of Christ, subsists in the Catholic Church? My parents, who were Congregational Protestant ministers, they put their whole lives on the line for their teaching, for that teaching, because they really believed it. Do we believe that the Catholic Church is by its very nature, and despite the crisis we are going through currently, despite some of the incredible things that happen on our college campuses, some of the incredible violations of fundamental religious liberty rights, do we believe in the midst of all of this that we could have this bold new era? We've got to believe it, and we've got to model that belief for those around us. There's another pastoral letter that's a little different. It's only a week away. Monsignor Vaughn calls it Mr. Met meets John Henry Cardinal Newman. I gave many, who knows Father Lockwood Cameron? I think a lot of us know him. He's the chaplain at Stony Brook University. I gave him an impossible task. I like to challenge our young priests. Father Duffy knows that. Father Duffy doesn't need any challenges. So I said to Father Lockwood, I want you to write a pastoral letter on the October 13, 2019 canonization of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman that is readable, relevant, and practical. Somehow we pulled it off. It is a work of, I can't tell you, wait till you read it. It just is so easy to read, and you will be very inspired by it. What's the key theme of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman's life? One, he's so identified with Oxford University in England and being an intellectual luminary, an Anglican clergyman, who began to investigate the past and came to the conclusion that to be deep into history, that to look at the Catholic doctrine of apostolic succession is to embrace the objective truth that sets us free. And as a result, in 1845, he became a Catholic, and his conversion captured and expressed in his classic work, Apologia Pro Vita Sua, published about 15 to 20 years after his conversion. This is called, it has had volcanic effects in England, in the United States, and around the world on conversions to the Catholic Church in the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. It's still happening. My parents, who I mentioned earlier in the homily, they met each other at the Yale Divinity School, and both my mother and my father were ordained congregational ministers. A little more than a century after Cardinal Newman, they came to the same conclusions that he did, that to be deep into history is to be Roman Catholic, and they embraced the doctrine of apostolic succession. You know, we all make decisions in life. Decisions, sometimes we have a good sense of where the consequences are going, and sometimes we're not fully sure. We don't know all the consequences. One of the consequences of my decisions of my parents being attracted to the doctrine of apostolic succession and entering the Catholic Church in 1955 is that their fifth child would one day become a successor of the apostles, as unworthy as he is. And then recently, Monsignor Vaughn and I were on the phone with a theologian in his early 40s with 6 children and a wonderful wife. He was studying for the Protestant ministry at Duke University, and he made the mistake of picking up Cardinal Newman. He is now a Roman Catholic theologian and Newman expert. What's my point about talking about Cardinal Newman tonight? My point is that Catholic evangelization goes into popular culture like the Mets. Popular Catholic evangelization hits the Catholic intellectual tradition by focusing on the canonization of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman. The sign of the times of Newman's canonization is that get ready. There is about to be an explosion, a volcanic eruption of reversions and conversions to the Catholic faith on Long Island, in New York, around our country, and around the world, because people are going to rediscover the inspirational biography, the sanctity, the theological foresight and writings of St. John Henry, soon to be St. John Henry Cardinal Newman. So that's a preview of a few things. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for the way you're inspired. But first of all, the fundamentals of our Catholic faith, the way you live them each and every day. Your commitment to a spiritual life that is deep, that is profound. And your devotion to Saint Pio. All of us share that in very deep ways. There's something, I know I go to him for all of us. If we want to go deeper into the Mass, we go to Pio, because with those stigmata, and when we see him on YouTube celebrating the Mass, he knew what it meant to celebrate Mass. He knew the cosmic power of the Mass, and he knew the rhythm of the sacrifice of the Mass was expressed in the wounds he bore in such a powerful and beautiful way. Let's open ourselves together through the intercession of St. Jerome, St. Therese, through a dedication to our guardian angels, through the intercession of Saint Francis of Assisi and Saint Padre Pio, and with a new sense of an intercession of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman as we prepare for his canonization on October 13th. I thank you, each and every one of you, for the courageous and living and beautiful contempt
contemplative and missionary way you live your Catholic faith on Long Island. And remember, there is a inbreaking of a new era of Catholic evangelization. And we have to believe in it. And we have to open ourselves to the guidance of the Spirit and those tongues of flame that are with us and with our church at every moment. God bless you.